What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris, man. We are here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is Monday, December 16th, 2024. We are officially halfway through the month of December. And it'll be just 16 more days, and it will be 2025. Wow, this year has definitely flown by really fast. Once again, my name is Chris Drummond. I am a sports reporter, freelance, based out of Minnesota here, the proprietor of this podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder, where I bring individuals on and talk about their why and get to know them outside of their occupation. I got a special guest that's going to be coming on with me today. Her name is Dr. Allison Smith. She is the associate professor of the sport administration program at Georgia State. She is also a freelance sports writer for Awful Announcing. So we're going to talk to her about her why of wanting to get into sports writing, but also her why of wanting to be an assistant professor as well. She's been the same title at universities such as University of New Mexico, University of Massachusetts, Virginia Commonwealth University as well, VCU as is better known. So once again, without any further ado, I introduce to you the wonderful, talented, and the beautiful Allison Smith. Good evening, Allison. How we doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. Just want to say thank you for allocating your time to me on my podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder. And I also want to ask you, how's your week starting out?
Pretty good. No complaints here. I'm just trying to finish up grades for end of the semester, so all that good stuff. Always grading.
Absolutely. No question. No question. I want to reiterate to you before I start peppering you with all these questions that I have here on to
Okay.
why I wanted to have you on my podcast. I know you're an associate professor of the sport administration program at Georgia State University. And I have a lot of ties to Georgia because I graduated Kennesaw State University in my
Okay.
undergrad. And I'm also pursuing my master's at Kennesaw State, which I will be finishing this next May coming up. So,
Are you in sport management?
no, I'm in professional writing because I got my
Okay.
undergrad in journalism and
Okay.
emerging media. So I kind of wanted to merge those two together.
Yeah.
I am a journalist that's freelance now, but for the past 6, 7 years, I worked in different publications. I know you probably know a couple of these, which is the Marietta Daily Journal
Yeah.
and the Cherokee Tribune Ledger.
Okay.
Those two particularly, when I was in Atlanta, Georgia, I was working for those, covering sports such as football, baseball, basketball, and lacrosse as well. Just covering different games like that. I moved out here to Minnesota and got my first full time job
Yeah,
covering.
big change of
Well,
pace there.
uh, tell me about it. Yeah, definitely. Definitely a change of pace. It was a whopping, what, 3 degrees a couple days ago? So
Yep.
yeah, it was cold. But I was covering full time, and being able to cover 12 high schools and college out here. So definitely got a lot of experience doing that, covering all different kind of events. I decided to go freelance because I want to do more professional as well,
Okay.
which I'm in the mix of doing. I'm covering the Professional Women's League Thursday. I'm going to be covering more WNBA games,
Nice.
and also some baseball coming up with the Twins here. So yes,
Congrats. That's awesome.
thank you, thank you. I very appreciate that, Allison. I really do. Thank you so much. But I know you do sports work as well, right? Writing for Awful Announcing.
Yeah.
And you've been this same title of associate professor at multiple different universities, right? Such as New Mexico, VCU, and also University of Massachusetts. Is doing some of my research of what
Okay.
you've also been there. So I say all that to say I love talking to people who are in communications. I love
Yeah.
talking to people who are in sports. Everybody has a story to tell. Your story is just as special as anyone else.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
no question. And lastly, it's hard for us as people who are writers in communication, journalists that tell our stories because we're so used to either grading papers or teaching it or writing stories to go get the story that we don't get a chance to tell our story. So
Yeah.
um, I'm really, really blessed that you said that you wanted to come on here and be able to do that. So thank you once again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an honor. I'm excited to be able to have a conversation with you. And yeah, I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, let's rock with it. So the first question, Allison, that I normally have for all my guests here is, what is your why? What is your why of doing what you do? Did you have any role models growing up, any inspirations, maybe that you wanted to be like? But what is your why of wanting to be in communications and media?
Yeah, that's easy. My why really hasn't changed since I was young. I think it's switched maybe the way it looks, but the why has stayed the same. I went and played college softball. I was a college athlete, was a big time high school athlete, and sports has always been this avenue for me to really be my true self and to kind of showcase maybe some things that we don't think women get to showcase in their everyday lives. A lot of confidence, a lot of aggression, a lot of resilience. I have a lot of attitude. I get told that quite a lot. Um,
Really? Okay.
and so I think for me, my why is I want to see women's sports change in a way that I never got to experience. So I graduated from college in 2011. And there wasn't a women's pro sport league for me to go play in as much as I loved softball and as much as I saw myself really young playing pro softball. And so I think a lot of the reason I write about women's sports for Awful Announcing, the ways in which I teach, it's always from this lens of trying to provide equity and like get students or readers or whoever it might be that I'm having a conversation with to see that women's sports is inherently value in and of itself. It doesn't need to be compared to men's sports. And my why is that one day maybe I'll see it look a whole lot different than how it looks right now, as much as I love the way it's looking right now. But I want it to grow even more.
You and me both. I'm actually doing my capstone, which is a thesis, my master thesis on. It's actually a 5 to 6,000 word feature story, and what I want to talk about is the women sports reporters. I feel like I want to talk about within there is the inequities of race, pay, and
Yeah,
opportunity. I
100%.
really want to talk about that, so I'm actually having like a lineup full of local and national women that I'm going to talk to in this next semester coming up and get their perspective on that because it's something that's been really near and dear to my heart, um, especially doing this full time. When you go to a lot of these state meets and even just covering it locally, the one thing I don't see is a lot of women that's covering the
Yeah.
sport, and that's pretty sad because to me, we have a large percentage of women that make up our audience. We have a large percentage of women that are playing and just doing amazing things in their sports, and they don't get the chance to or opportunities to get a chance to cover it because you have sometimes people say, well, they didn't play it, so they shouldn't cover it,
Yeah.
which to me is flat out ridiculous because you have men calling women's sports and they didn't play
Yeah.
women's sports, so
Yeah.
it's just something for me to be an advocate about. It's something that I'm pretty passionate about. I've been talking about it for years because I just feel that we need more women, especially women of color, of course, but women all in general. We need more women in sports and in positions of hierarchy within the sports industry field. Um,
Yeah, 100% agree with you. So glad to have you along for the ride and advocating for for women to be in those spaces. It's great to hear that. That's part of your work as well, that we have share that in common.
Absolutely, no question. Now you talked about college. I know you went to Wingate University.
Yep.
You've been all over the South, Allison. North
Yeah, I
Carolina.
move a lot.
You've been all over the South, as I saw. Wingate University with your undergrad. You went
Yep.
to Knoxville for your master's and your doctorate, if I'm not mistaken. So, talk to me about were there any other schools that could have persuaded you from going to Wingate University? And
Mhm.
also, were there any other schools that could have persuaded you from going to Knoxville, University of Tennessee, to get your master's and your doctorate as well?
Well, both of those actually weren't my original plan. So, out of high school, I had a full ride. I went to Manhattan College, which is in Riverdale, New York. I'm from a really, really small town, Chris, like 2,000 or less people. From a
Mm.
little town called Daleville, Virginia, which no one's heard of. So I always say I'm from Roanoke, Virginia, which is the big city, which by the
Right.
way, it's definitely not.
Right,
So
right,
as a high school senior, I thought I want to get out of my small town. I want to go to the big city. I can't afford to go to college without, money and help. So I got a full ride and I took it. I took this offer to go to Manhattan College, and I learned really quickly that fit is the most important thing for college athletes, like finding a good team, finding the right fit for your major, all of those things. And it took about 6 months in for me to realize Manhattan wasn't it. So I went to the transfer portal at the time. This shows how old I am. The transfer portal was you had to have your coach's permission, which they've completely done away with, and you had to either sit out a year if you went back to a Division I school, or you could go down a level. For
right.
me, I had gone to a camp when I was getting recruited at Wingate. I loved the campus. I loved the head coach, and I really actually wanted to go there. But she didn't have a position, so I never got an offer from her. So I ended up going to Manhattan. So when I transferred, I reached back out and said, hey, any way, shape, or form, you need a pitcher. And at the time, she had two that had quit. So she said, yeah, why don't you come down and do a tryout? Because at Division II, you can do like a tryout, which is so unique. I pitched for
Yeah.
her and she said, yeah, we want you. Come here. I was like, okay, great. And Wingate it's about 3.5 hours from where I grew up. And so my dad and mom only came to like two of my games my entire first year of college. My dad
Mhm.
didn't miss a single game I pitched in my senior year. He came to almost every game from my sophomore to my senior year. So I think for me, like again, fit was really important, being close to home again, realizing that I wasn't this big bad girl that could go to the big city. I needed to be closer to home. I needed a smaller school. And it kind of happened the same way when I went to grad school. So I stayed at Wingate, I was a GA, and then got a full-time position. So I was there for 2 years after I graduated, but felt like I really wanted to go get a PhD. And so I went to Middle Tennessee State because one of my advisors from Wingate graduated from there. And again, sometimes you go places and you realize it's just not the right fit for you. Their emphasis
Right.
was more about recreation and outdoor recreation, and I wanted to study sport. So at the whim of a friend who was in the program, he said, hey, I hear Tennessee wants a GA and they're looking for someone to take on. And I was like, okay, I'll reach out. Reached out to my advisor. We met. We had a really good conversation. He said, yeah, if you want to come here, I have a GA spot for you. Your
Mm.
choice. And I jumped at it because why wouldn't I go to one of the premier schools when it comes to women's sports, like known for women's sports? So I was like, okay,
No
I'm going to go to
question.
Knoxville. And that's
Mhm.
how I ended up at UT. So both of my like where I ended up going to college is kind of not the original plan. And I
Mhm.
would say, since you did your homework, I've moved 1,000 times. Um, I'm a big believer in like you just got to keep trying to pivot till you find the right home for you.
Absolutely. No question. And listen, a lot of those places I've been to myself. I actually drove through the Wingate, North Carolina. I didn't stop there, but I did. I do know where that is. But
Yeah, not a
Knoxville,
lot going on there.
right, right. So I kept it pushing on that one. But Knoxville, I've been there many times. Actually, did an internship there. You obviously probably know about the Knoxville Ice Bears because that's one of the main
Yep,
happenings in that town.
yep,
So did an internship with them. Also got a chance to go to the Women's Sports Hall of Fame, which is also in Knoxville.
yep,
Uh, so definitely respect the hustle, respect the grind, and I respect your transparency as well. Sometimes you do have to go to places and see that sometimes it's just not the right fit for you, and you make those pivotal decisions, right? You pivot to a different decision, and you were young, and you were able to be like, you know what, you didn't like you didn't like waffle on it. You was like decisive. Like this is something that is not for me. And you went to something that was for you. Now you said you was a pitcher. Did you play
yep.
a second? Did you play a second position? Because I'm thinking if you
Absolutely not, Chris.
okay.
So in high school, pretty early on, I was the main pitcher for most of my teams growing up, but as a young kid, I played second base and outfield and I hit and I ran the bases. And I remember pretty distinctly as a freshman, my coach and my dad kind of pulled me aside and they were like, so if you get hurt, we have like no backup option pitching wise. So you are no longer allowed to hit. You're not running the bases, like you're pitching and you're sitting down. And I was like, oh, that's so lame. But at the time, I was around my freshman or sophomore year. Like I wasn't spending a lot of time developing those other skills anymore. And I could see that like teammates were passing me by in those areas. Like I wasn't really playing a lot of second base. I wasn't playing a lot of outfield anymore. I wasn't hitting and practicing that as much. I was spending all of my energy in pitching. And so
Mhm.
At the time I was mad. It took maybe like another conversation with my dad, and then I was like, okay, it's fine. You know what? I probably should just focus on pitching, and that kind of became like my sole attention. Other than I played volleyball in high school as well and loved that too. But again, that one ended up having to let that one go too. I tore my ACL as a junior, and I tore it playing volleyball. And my dad and I had a really heart-to-heart discussion about, right, which one do you want to play in college? And I thought my best chance was to pitch in college, and it turned out it was.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. I got a bonus question for you, Allison, and that is,
Okay.
we're all competitors who love sports. I love
Yep.
sports. You love sports. Some of us are cutthroat competitors for sure. We find that out. How much do you miss it? Do you miss being out there on the
Oh,
field, being able to pitch, being able to compete? I know you probably see some of the sports and some of the teams that play there at Georgia State. How much do you reminisce when you see some of them ladies or some of them athletes that go out on the field or the court do their thing?
yeah, I think if you're an athlete, you never get over that. Like, you just love that sense of competition, sense of challenge. Pitching is a very, like, obviously you're on a team and you're in a team sport, but it's a very singular activity, right? Like the ball starts in your hand and it can end in your hand. And so there's a lot of
Well,
pressure in being in the circle and being in the center. And I think for me, it was the place that I found the most peace. Like, I'm very hyper competitive. I will absolutely revel in striking you out. I enjoy every part of that journey to get you to swing at bad pitches. And so I think for me, like, I miss the challenge of facing batters and trying to, like, the mental challenge of like, okay, I threw this here, now I need to throw this, like this kind of like like cat and mouse game that you play with the hitter. That
yeah.
I will never not miss. But I think now I'm lucky, like I coach on the side, and so I get to kind of like experience it with the women I coach, and so it's like you play it in a different way, and I think I actually love it more now as a coach because you get to instill it in someone else, and you get to watch someone else grow in a way that you maybe didn't think they were going to be at when you first encountered them. So I think it's like you just got to find as an athlete, like how do you take this competitive energy and maybe pivot it in another way? Is it coaching? Is it doing CrossFit? Is it running? Is it playing in a, beer softball league? Whatever it might be, like you just got to find your way to like stay in touch if it really means a lot to you. And for me, it's been coaching mainly. I definitely still play sports, but I actually tore my left ACL pitching to my team last year, so I'm telling myself maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to stop throwing.
You might need to pick a different sport, maybe pickleball, maybe something
Yeah,
else that
yeah, my
might,
mom plays, so I guess I could start trying to be her partner, but she's way better than me already. So
I feel that. I feel that. Yeah. I love asking that question, because like you said, as I didn't play on a college level, no, but I played in high school. And the high school level was very competitive. I cover high school. I know what a lot of these kids are going through when I'm going to the games. Um, but now that I'm in my 30s, Allison, it's a little different trying to run with these
yeah,
high schoolers now. That it's just a little different. It seems like they're going like warp speed sometimes out there
that's
on the
true.
basketball court, especially
Yeah, luckily
basketball.
I don't do that. I'm playing a game of horse or cat. That's about as much basketball as you're getting out of this body these days.
That's it. No, no, no more. I do pickleball now, but yeah, with the youngins, as I call them now, no, no more running up and down and stuff like that. I don't
That's
need,
fair.
I don't need a blown hamstring or nothing like that. Let me just play with the 30-year-olds and up, and then we can. That's for sure. I want to ask you some favorite questions, and you just give me the 411 off the rip based upon these favorite questions. Okay.
Hey, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Favorite meal you like to cook?
Oh, man, that's such a good one. I make this like herb roasted chicken, a cast iron herb roasted butter chicken, and I have been complimented a lot over the last. I just learned to make it last summer, and I now make it for kind of like my special meal, whether that's me and my husband or if we have friends over and I'm trying to show off, like I'll break that one out.
Well, I don't know if you're opposed to having new friends, but my name is Chris again, Allison, and just to let you know,
Anytime, Chris.
I'm just saying, I mean, I do have family there. I do come to Atlanta quite a bit to visit moms, my aunt, and my uncle who are still there. So have a lot of ties there still. So just throwing that out. Okay,
Okay, we can
I'm gonna
make
use
that happen.
taco. I'm a huge taco person, so I love
Oh,
tacos.
that's yeah. Well, I took favorite meal in that question as I what I make, but like what I
Yeah,
like to eat. Favorite
yeah.
meal, tacos, any way, shape, or form, all the time, every day.
All
Easy.
right. I'll keep that in mind. That's awesome. I love it. Okay. Favorite concert you've ever attended?
Oh, that's hard. So my husband and I are really big John Mayer fans because we grew up on
Oh,
John Mayer.
yeah,
And he played Boston last year, and he played a deep track that is like a song between my husband and I, like it's one of our favorite songs. Um,
sure.
and he never plays it. And all of a sudden, I tweeted at him actually that day and was like, what I would give if John Mayer would play Walt Grace's Submarine. It's like something like Walt Grace's Submarine Journey or something like that is the name of the song. And
Absolutely.
he played it and I was just like, I cannot. I was like, it's obviously because of my tweet. No, I'm just kidding. But no, he played this song that like he never plays on tour. He's never played it ever on tour. And I was just like, this is a sign. So that would have to be my favorite concert because we heard like our favorite song, which was very cool.
He's amazing, no question about it. Gravity is one of my favorite songs.
Oh,
Obviously,
so good. It's so good live.
no question, no question. I love that. Okay, that's what's up. Favorite place you've ever traveled to?
Ooh. Can I have two?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Santa Fe, New Mexico, because I used to live in New Mexico and Santa Fe has my heart. It's a beautiful place.
Yes, it is.
If you have any friends or family that go there, I will give you all the recs, places to eat, places to drink, places to stay. And then San Marino. When I played overseas after I graduated from undergrad, we made a stop and played in San Marino, which is technically its own country because during World War II, they decided they didn't want to be a part of the war, so they like annexed themselves from Italy. It's
Wow,
basically it's tiny, tiny little town on top of a mountainside. So it's beautiful, like what you can see. And it's probably some of the most kind people, despite none of them being able to speak English and me not being able to speak Italian. Just the way in which people welcomed you into their home and into their little town was really cool there.
love that. That's amazing. I would have said Cabo San Lucas for me. Uh,
Okay. I've never
you
been anywhere tropical, so I'm gonna have to fix that.
Yes, please tell the hubby you two go on a nice trip. I'm sure you guys will love it, no question about it. But my favorite place now is Jamaica. I'm
Okay.
fortunate enough to go on a cruise. My dad set it up, and it was dad's side of the family, and we went on a cruise. And Jamaica was one of my favorite stops. So I got hooked on the cruise bug, Allison, and now I'm going to be going to Greece by myself next year, next June. It's going to be a group of us though, but it's a singles cruise. So yes.
Oh, well, good luck. It's on my list. My mom and I have like a travel list together and Greece has been on her list for a while. It's been on mine for a while too.
Well, I will let you know how that is
Yeah,
because I
you'll
would
just have to give
definitely,
me all the recs.
I certainly will. No question about it. I'm looking forward to it for sure. We're sports people, Allison. So I got a sports question for you.
Okay.
Favorite you like to watch on TV? Favorite sport you like to attend in person?
Oh, they're the same. That's easy. Any WNBA game, whether in
Mm,
person or on TV, I am obsessed with the WNBA.
okay.
Um, I will watch any team play. I definitely have like my favorite players that are on a variety of teams, but yeah, any game in person, any game on TV, I'm watching.
No question. I was lucky enough and blessed enough to cover Game 3 of the finals last year.
Ah, wow.
Um,
That's so
yeah,
incredible. Congrats.
yeah, thank you so much. Well, it was New York and Minnesota here, so and
Yeah,
when
so you're
Minnesota,
probably covering for Minnesota. Nice.
so it was
That
pretty
was a
cool.
good series.
Yes, very good series, and I'm so lucky to be able to have that connection with the communication people again to be able to cover some regular season games again for 25. But I love players as well. WNBA has been always been one of my favorite sports to watch. Basketball is my favorite sport to watch. Period. But
Same.
uh, to go to the Gateway Center and watch the Dream play is pretty cool. I love that. I love watching the Dream play. I remember watching the Dream when Angel McCoughtry was on that team. And
Yeah, yeah.
so I remember the Dream when they had that. Even when the Dream, you remember when the Dream went to the finals and played against the Storm?
Yep.
Yep, yep. That's how far back I go with the Atlanta Dream and doing that doing it. So
Yeah, I haven't been lucky enough to go to a game yet. I kind of started at Georgia State at a time where you're like just trying to get your head, above water, get starting at a
mhm,
new school and a new semester. But I had when I was at UMass Boston, we had a connection with the Connecticut Sun, so our students would do projects for their marketing team, and so we would get to
yeah,
go to a lot of the games. So I ended up becoming a season ticket holder and 23, 24. So I went to a ton of Connecticut Sun games for a couple years when I lived at UMass or when I was working at UMass Boston. So definitely miss being, in a place and close to a place where I can go to those games. But excited to start that again in,
great.
May of 25. Excited for the new season to start.
Absolutely. And speaking of Connecticut Sun, a couple of my favorite players, which is the triple double person herself, and Alyssa Thomas, and
AT,
also
yeah.
Dewana Bonner is one of my favorite players. She played with, to me, the GOAT, Diana Taurasi, in Phoenix
Okay.
Mercury. Yes, I definitely, and I love Jonquel Jones prior to her
Oh
going to
yeah,
the
she's one of my faves as well. Yeah. All right. Yeah, and now she's on playing on the Liberty, but
yes,
you
she
know,
is. Yes,
yeah,
she
I
is.
love her too. She's fantastic, and I don't think she's gotten enough fanfare for how amazing she is. And just, I think that people should know that name a whole lot more. Jonquel
No
is
question. No
pretty
question.
fantastic.
He was pretty key in that series against Minnesota against Nafisa
Yeah.
Collier. No question about that. So yes, but I could talk your head off all day with WNBA. Good. My last favorite is obviously I know that city very well, Atlanta, Georgia, but I'm a huge foodie person. I love hearing different places to go. What is your favorite restaurant to go to and eat?
In Atlanta or just in general?
It could be both. It could be Atlanta and in general.
There's a restaurant called El Valle in Atlanta that is a Mexican kind of fusion restaurant. Great
Mm,
tacos, Chris. We talked about our love of tacos.
we
They also
did.
have a corn pudding, which I know you're like, ew, corn pudding. Like, who would be down with that? But it
That's
tasted
different.
um, like a really good cornbread, and so I'm obsessed with cornbread. I grew up on cornbread. My grandmother has a great recipe that I have tried to master to this day.
All
So
right
that
now.
one for Atlanta. For best meal probably ever, like I love Southwest food, so I would go back to Albuquerque or Santa Fe and just eat my face off in red and green chili. That would be the goal. If every time I can get back to Albuquerque, if I can find a reason to go, I'm like on a plane. It's happening.
Okay, I'm with you on that. I okay. First off, when you said chili, do you put meat and cheese in your chili?
Well, this is like when they say chili in New Mexico, they mean salsa, but they call it chili. So they're like, do you like it
Oh,
red
okay,
or so essentially if you want to sound like a New Mexican, so when you go to a restaurant, they're gonna say red or green. And if you're a true New Mexican, you say Christmas, which means you want both. And it means your food is about to be hot,
okay,
but it tastes delicious. So chili, like what we probably grew up on.
right.
Um, what was the question? Do I like what in it?
Meat and cheese.
Yeah, I want all the toppings though.
Okay.
If I make chili, it's got crackers and cheese and
Yep,
cilantro, sometimes tortilla chips. Like, give
with
me,
you.
yeah, we got to put everything in there. We're basically making a full pound of chili and like putting as many toppings as possible for me to eat it.
Yeah, okay, that's my type of friend I like to have, man.
Yeah, I like to eat, Chris. We'll be great friends if you're into food because I can tell you where to eat. I love to eat. I love to cook. So.
Well, say less. You already got me there. I'm with you on that. No doubt. That's what's up. I love that. There's a place in Atlanta called Eats. It's
Okay.
actually downtown, so where North Ave, where Georgia Tech is.
Okay.
It's really really good. They make some of the biggest plates of like pasta, chicken. Just their plates are just huge. It doesn't
Okay.
matter what you order. They just order big stuff. You can't
Yeah.
finish it. You have to
Yeah,
take it
so
with
you're
you.
saying this is like a tag team place. Like you should have
Pretty much.
a friend with you.
No question about it. No question.
Okay.
So you order one thing, you both will be able to eat off that thing. That's for sure. Okay, I
Awesome.
like that. I like that. So here's what I want to do now. I want to ask you about your day to day.
Okay.
Now you say you were grading papers, so now you're an associate professor. So you're teaching. Kids are learning from you, and you've been doing this for quite some time now. Now, I would love to know about how is your day to day as far as getting prepared to do that, because every day I can only imagine every day is different. Nothing, no day is ever the same. And that's the same thing for a journalist. Journalists, we don't have the same type of days. Sometimes it's long hours too. You know, it's not like an 8 to 4 type of job. Like you're working right now grading papers, and you know sometimes your days might even be longer than this. So, talk to me about how you prepare for your day to day. What are the type of things that you do, and also how do you fit in awful announcing doing all of that?
Yeah, so I typically on like Sunday, sometimes Monday, will look at my week and try to plan out, okay, which days do I have what coming up. So I try to like organize my week accordingly. So on days that I have class and I'm on campus, I try to have any meetings I need to have with students are on those days, any meetings that are for our program or department, from meeting with partners that are, whether they're just internship partners or they're people that, contribute monetary, investment into our students. I try to have all of my Atlanta days like kind of in alignment. And so typically, at least this past semester, I taught on Tuesday, Wednesday. So Monday was pure prep, right? So I'm prepping for class. I'm reading over the material again. I'm checking over my slides. I look in the news. I'm on X or Twitter. I love to still call it Twitter.
Me too.
And I'm
Me too.
saying, is there anything new that's going on that I feel like could be a relevant example for class? Or is there anything I need to add to slides? So Monday's kind of prep day. And so I try not to take meetings or have a lot going on that day just so that I can kind of focus. Tuesday, Wednesday, like I said, I'm having meetings and I teach. Teaching for us is 3 hour classes. So it's like it's a haul where like you're in it for a while.
Yeah.
I tend to go home after I teach. I am worthless. I have already wasted every brain cell I have in that class time. So if I'm on campus after I teach, it's like going for a walk or going to work out or like doing something easy. So like grading papers or grading quizzes is easy. It's not mind numbing. Like, let me look at do we answer things correctly?
Right.
And then I try to like kind of section off the back half of my week for research. So that's starting research papers, that's finishing research or analyzing data, that's writing. And so awful announcing kind of happened very like organically and by chance. I had gone to watch the college March Madness tournament, and so I was writing, and I had watched the men's tournament as well, like within about a week and a half. And I just saw these major differences between how the men's games went and the fans and the atmosphere and the ways in which players were treated. And then the women's, and I said, I'm just going to tweet about it and say, would anyone be interested to hear my take on I've been to, both Elite Eights in the last week. And so I had a friend who's at another university who said, yeah, if you can take a more, academic spin to this article, we're happy to publish it at Athletic Director U, which I've published a lot of my research there. So essentially, Athletic Director U takes a lot of big time academic research that's, 40, 50 pages long and boils it down into about 2,000 to 3,000 words. Hit me with the highlights. What do I need to learn from whatever this article was? So I've written
Sure.
for them several times. And so for me, it was like, great, I'm going to write this article about basketball and all the trends that we're seeing in women's college basketball. And then I
Right.
tweeted out again because I think Twitter is, if I've learned anything in my life, Twitter has been the greatest connection to meet really awesome people that want to help each other out. I know
There you
Twitter
go.
has a lot of bad zones, but for
Oh
me,
yeah.
it's always been really great. And so I tweeted out and said, hey, I'm really interested in writing more about women's sports, particularly women's basketball. Does anyone know anyone that would want to pick up an article? I've got this idea. And
Right.
Katie Lever, who was a contributing writer at Awful Announcing at the time, said, I'm happy to introduce you to my editor. Can't promise anything, but I will make the introduction. So I met my editor, Matt, and he said, yeah, if you'd be interested in writing about basketball specifically, because they already had someone writing about women's college sports, uh,
Sure.
then I'm happy to like kind of let you run with it. And so this happened last May.
Okay.
And at the time, it was more of I think I was kind of getting a test run. Like Matt had like 4 or 5 ideas he wanted me to work on, and I published them very quickly. So like if you look at it, my like last year of writing, there's a ton in May. And I think Matt was trying to be like, is she any good? Trying to weed me out
Right.
a little bit, right? Trying to
Right.
fill me
Right.
out.
Right.
But I must have passed the test because he has continued to let me write. And so for me, awful announcing is more It's something I love, and I think it really helps me teach a sport communication and a sport journalism class, be very tangible to my students. And so during the times that I'm not teaching, I ramp it up and I write a lot. And then kind of during the semester, you probably see less of me. It's probably like once or twice a month that you'll see an article come out for me. So for me, it's just kind of about timing and thinking about what are good ideas and obviously keeping a pulse on what's happening in women's sports or what's happening in specifically Awful Announcing is interested in viewership and attendance and media numbers and kind of storytelling. So I have to take a certain spin when I write for them, but yeah, I'm trying to kind of keep up with trends. And when I see something I think is noteworthy, I send Matt a note, and he, as my editor, says either, yeah, that's great, or, and he never tells me no, but he'll say, like, well, maybe we could pivot it to be like this. Um,
Right.
so yeah, I squeeze Awful Announcing in whenever I can because I really love journalism. That's what I got my undergrad in, and that's what I wanted to do
Oh,
originally. Yeah, so now it's like kind of getting to do both things, which is really unique.
absolutely. No, we got a lot of things in common there, girl. There's no
Yeah.
question about it. That's pretty cool. That's pretty amazing, though. Just hearing about your day to day, your grind, your work ethic. I mean, obviously, you have impeccable work ethic, but you was a college pitcher. You have to be. You have to be really structured with practices and school and all different things like that. It's really awesome to hear. It's awesome to hear that you have such a wonderful heart that you want to give back, pay it forward to the generation that's up and coming, and be able to teach them some of the things that you've learned and some of the things that you know. So I love to
Yeah,
hear.
I tell them all the time, let me make your life easier. Let me teach you all the things I wish I had not learned the hard way. So that's kind of
Right.
my way to give back. And yeah, teaching is great. Yeah. I mean, it helps you stay really connected and form relationships. Like that's such a big thing for me is forming relationships with other people. And teaching allows
Absolutely.
you to do that, which is really cool.
Absolutely, which is why I want to get my master's because I definitely have got the itching bug. I do substitute teaching now on the side, and
Okay.
when you're in an industry like this, you do several different things. So I kind of work in sales, I substitute teach at times, but that really gave me the bug to really because I started, just some of these young kids that started to weigh on me and was like asking me. And then I got called Mr. Drummond for the first time. I was like, oh boy, I'm getting old. I'm getting a little older when they call me Mr. Drummond. Like, oh man. But they would start asking me questions about journalism. And
I
I would
love
just tell
that.
them what I briefly know. I mean, I told them I'm about 6, 7 years into it, but some of the main advice that I would give them is try everything
Yeah.
with journalism. Definitely try everything. Write, shoot, edit, produce, be in front of the camera, behind the camera, radio, whatever opportunities that you can get in this school, whether it's high school or college. I want you to try it because you first learn to see what you like, you first learn to see what you don't like, and you just fall in love with it. Learn the basics. Ask a lot of questions with your teachers and professors that you have. The second thing is be comfortable being uncomfortable. I always tell them
Yep.
that. Definitely do that because there's going to be stories, there's going to be games, there's going to be events, there's going to be things that you cover that's going to be a little bit uncomfortable at first, because it's stuff that you probably haven't done before, but that's okay. It's okay if you can find a comfort within that. And the more that you do it, the better you'll get. And I'll
It's
try to
only going
tell
to make
them.
you better to get pushed outside of those boundaries. Those things help us grow. I mean, my editor made me write an article pretty early on where he said, "Tell me who you think are the big three on every WNBA team and tell me why." And I looked at him and I was like, "I'm not an analyst. Like, I don't like know the game like that." And he was like, "I think you know more than you think. Like, why don't you write it up?" And then the worst part was Chris first comes out and like three of the players I labeled got hurt within like the first couple games. And I was like, well,
Oh
that thing goes to
man,
hell. We'll just let that die. We'll let that push off to the side. So
I know
yeah,
exactly
I
what
mean,
you're
I think
talking about too. Yeah.
that's good advice to your students because it did push me a lot and it has made me a lot better writer now, I think, because I had to kind of like do that kind of research and find all these stats and like really make an argument. If I said somebody was like a premier player, I needed to back it up, right? And so it's cool to hear that you're doing that work too. I mean, students are awesome. Like being around young, I don't know, you call them youngins or young people.
Mhm.
I think they can be very frustrating, but they are also really inspiring, really unique. They're very creative in a way that I feel like, I don't know, our generation just wasn't because they have all these
Yeah.
tools to do it.
Yeah,
And so it's really cool to see the things they come up with.
it is. Keep you young. To
Yeah.
me, it's almost
Or make
it's
you feel
almost.
old at the same time.
I was gonna say that they keep some of them keep you young, some of them make you think, wow, well, I'm glad I'm this generation for
When
sure.
you talk
Instead
about music with them, that's when you're like, oh, okay, we are not from the same eras.
yeah, the music scene, some of them, they'll talk about a different rap artist with a goofy name, and I'm like, what are you what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah,
huh?
rap for me is 90s rap, like
I'm
the
with you
end
on
all
that.
be all 90s rap. Yeah,
I'm with
so
you on that.
I
That's
definitely
where I grew up.
understand that.
Yes, absolutely. No question. I want to ask you this next one, though, because this is a great segue to work life balance and mental health. And the reason
Oh,
why, Allison, I want to talk to you about this is, you go to college, you see college students all the time. College students are like cramming all type of, just doing all kind of things that college students do at that particular age. And
yeah.
I see it with the high school students and the college students out here as well. You know, work life balance is tough though. It's tough because, like you said, you are in a communicative type of job. You already said it. You have friends, you have family, husband, all this, that, and the third. How do you balance your work life balance, but also still maintain good mental health without experiencing like burnout and different things of that
Yeah.
nature?
I'll be really honest with you, Chris. It's only a lesson I think I've learned in like the last year. I think that really early on, I think a lot of us, especially if we played high level sports, just tend to push ourselves because that's what always got us the starting role or the awards or the win or whatever it might be in athletics. And so I think it's hard for many of us to learn, when do we dial it back? Like, when do we turn it off? When do we take a break? Because our whole life we've been trained, like, if I do X, then, Y and Z can happen, but I've got to push and I've got to move and I've got to train and I've got to run and I've got to do all these things. And so
Right.
I think I mean, I'll be truthful. I ran myself in the ground when I was at University of New Mexico and at UMass Boston. I mean, I got really sick during my PhD program. I was hospitalized for a week because I ran myself into the ground so bad. I was so stressed out because of my PhD life. So I don't think I've been a very good example of it until more recently. And I started to really think about life and just that like work is not everything. The work that I
Right.
do means a lot to me, so I think that's why it's always been easy for me to just grind and grind and grind because I see like the reward pay off when you see a student graduate, when you see an article come out that you're really proud of, whatever it might be.
Yep.
But the last year, I've like had some new strategies. Like I don't have my email from my work on my phone at all. No way, shape, or form. I will never put it back on my
Absolutely.
phone again. I also try really hard when I'm home with my husband, like computers off, phones kind of tucked away. Like I try to really stay off of it and just kind of like decompress, whether that's walking our dog, whether that's watching a show, whether that's we went to, a basketball game last night. We're going to like two this week. Like we love to attend sporting events, so like that's our fun. And
Yep.
so just trying to like make sure I have those things planned because if you work in sport, you're never going to have a perfect, work-life balance that's 40 hours a week and, like we turn our computer off. It's never going to happen. And so I actually do a lot of research on work-life balance. And so one of the things that I really tell people in sport is how can you get work-life enrichment? Like, how can your job either influence your life in a really positive way or your life influences your job? And so maybe that's integrating, like for me as a professor, Christmas break, or holiday break, I'm gonna make sure I go to a bunch of games because that's what I like to do. I'm gonna see my family. I'm gonna shut down my computer from December 20th to January 6th. That's our entire winter break. Like, I'm not gonna open my computer. Like I think those strategies have just taken me a little bit longer to learn because, in this life we've been rewarded for go, 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 but our mental health takes the toll. And so for me, this new job, I've tried to really have more of a balance there of being like, there's time for work and there's time for just me to exist and not do any work at all.
I love that. And again, I really do appreciate your transparency. Experience in life is the best teacher. My mama always told me that, and
Yeah.
dad did too. And at first, I was like, "What the hell are you talking about? I don't understand what you're talking about." And as kids, you always questioning what your parents are telling you because you're like,
That's
okay,
true.
whatever." But as you get older, you do start to realize that some of the stuff they say actually does make some sense. And I don't think anybody will ever have a perfect work life balance.
No.
like you alluded to. And I know for me, it's been very tough as far as building relationships. When you're a single guy and you're chasing a dream and you have a goal and you're doing what you love to do, something has to get put on the backside.
Yeah.
Because you just can't have it all. And it was tough for me to really to realize that okay, I can't hang out with people at midnight on a Tuesday. Everybody
Yeah, we're
is
not gonna
sleeping.
have a very productive Wednesday when we do that.
Right, right. You know what I mean? So everybody is sleeping, everybody's doing their thing, but the life of a sports journalist, that's that. We work nights, we work weekends. I love it. I wouldn't change it. I love this freelance lifestyle as well. Being able to call, being able to pick up this, pick up that. That's kind of why I pulled out of the publications that I was in. Not to mention that I was told I was below average too
Oh,
by my hierarchy, by my boss. He told me I was below average, and he told me that he did not have the tools to necessarily help me become a better journalist. But I have to preface those statements by saying I went to him after I would say 12 months, and I told him I felt like I've outworked what you're paying me. And the
mm,
reason why I did that is because they were starting to pile on more work. I didn't
yeah.
mind the work because I love what I do, but you also have to equate with the work with the money. And I'm not asking for you to bring out the Brinks truck. I'm not asking for that. But I am asking for you is if you're going to pile on more work and you're going to ask me to do more. How can you tell me that I'm below average all
Yeah.
of a sudden? So, you know,
Yeah,
that was
I'm sorry you had that experience, but look at you now. I bet that person's regretting saying that to you now.
he is. Unfortunately, he is. And I'm living my best life doing what I love to do. I'm no longer working till midnight, which is great. And I'm getting to cover some things that I've never thought in my lifetime, Allison, that I would do. Cover state championships, cover section championships, cover the NBA finals,
Yeah,
WNBA finals.
incredible.
That's amazing. I never would have done that had I stayed at that spot. And I'm all about progression and stuff like that. So absolutely, I love your answer about trying to balance that work life and also mental health. Mental
Yeah,
health is
I think
so
it's
important.
important, especially for us in sports spaces, because I'm married to a college coach. Like we go through ebbs and flows where it's like work, work, work all the time. And so I think, again, I think there's certain jobs in certain industries where it's not going to look like every weekend you're off, right? You worked 9 to 5 and then like you have your weekends free. Like that doesn't exist in sports. So I think it takes more intentionality to carve out the time to make sure that like you're healthy, your mental health is in check, like you're getting vacation time, like you're not just scrolling on your phone about the next story or the next sports score, like you're actually taking time for yourself. So again, that's been a lesson that I've learned the hard way, and I honestly feel like I've only really started to do a good job in the last like year.
Love
But that's a priority for me moving forward. So thank you for asking because I think it's an important thing to talk about.
it. Absolutely, no question. And again, great segue to this next question. That is advice. What is some advice that you would give some of your college students that you teach? Maybe someone who it may be a little more seasoned in age, like myself, that might be interested in
Chris, we're
teaching or
probably the
maybe.
same age. I feel like you shouldn't say it like that. I'm turning
well,
36 in 2 weeks.
oh, okay, yeah, we are. You're right. And then, listen, I thought I was a little older. That's what I was saying. I thought I was a little older.
No, no, we just look good. That's the key, right? That
You
work-life
did.
balance is helping us look good.
Dr. Allison Smith, you are right on that. There is no question about that, okay? And please, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. But my question is, what would you tell your students and what would you tell anybody that was interested in teaching or maybe wanting to write an article or story for a sports site?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I would tell students or someone that wants to get into sport reporting or writing or this industry in any capacity is like if you really want this, like let's hone those skills, right? Like I think your advice earlier that you were talking about with your students, like the name of the game now is you need to be able to shoot, edit, make a graphic, make a social media. Like you've got to be able to be a one-man band or one-woman band. And so I think that's something I really talk to my students about is like even if that's not your skill set, like social media is not my skill set, but have I run a multitude of social accounts over the last several years? 100%. And so I think it's just diversify your skill sets. You never know what could come in handy. Network your butt off, like
Yeah,
even if you're introverted and you're more scared about those spaces, that's probably telling you how much more you need to go be in them. Because sport is so linked to who you know and who you're connected to and who's in your network and who can open a door for you.
no
Um,
question.
and I think the third thing I tell my students and I talk to my students about pretty frequently is make sure that you are able to be your true authentic self at that place of work. And if you can't, then that's not the place for you. And I know that's really scary as a young person to think about like, oh, but this is a great job. Like I have to say yes. No, you do not. If you don't feel like those people care about you or are going to support you in your professional development or your personal development, then maybe that's not the right place for you and you should walk away from it. And I think that's easier to say, at this point in life, but
Sure.
at the same time, I want our students to know like there is a place for you to work where you're going to be respected and loved and cared about, and your ideas will be valued. And so if you go on a job interview and you don't feel like it's there, then that's a no. And that's okay that
Yeah.
there's a no. That means there's another and even better opportunity waiting for you after the no.
Excellent, excellent points. Excellent last point though, and that is something I've definitely mentioned before, is that you don't need to jump at the first job opportunity that you get. Like you talked about, people in the industry is always on the go, go, go. They always want to say yes, yes, yes. Like sometimes you got to just relax and kind of just dwell things in, think things through. And it's hard to do when you're a graduate of 22, 23 years old and you're trying to make a name for yourself because you want to say yes to everything. But every situation is not always going to be a yes.
Yeah,
Sometimes you
and every
really,
situation you say yes to might you know, burn you out and mean that you're
yeah,
not doing those jobs to your full capacity. And that's also not a good place to be. So it's better to do two or three things and do it really, really well than to do 17 and it be half effort because you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off. I talk to my students a lot about that because I think this idea that this generation is lazy is not true. I think this generation takes on too much. That's the big trend I see. And so really talking to them about intentionality, like what are you doing? Making sure those actions are intentional, making sure that work is intentional to like your overall goals. I think that's the big key.
absolutely. And lastly, before I get to the next question, so I've told my students, especially one, especially three things, I should say. The first thing I said, if there's anybody that's ever going to offer you a job, these are the three things that you should do. Number one, you should take a visit. Any job that allows you to not take a visit or doesn't allow you, I should say, to not take a visit, it's a red flag. Because one, you got to meet the people that you're going to be around. You got to know what the work environment is going to be like. You just got to see. You got to kind of view it. Now, you might not get all the answers from the meetup, but shake hands with people, and they should fly you out, and they should do that. If they really want you, they'll do it. Now, number two, not only meet your people that you work with, but go around the surrounding city that you're going to be in. 9 times out of 10, when you do go, as you've alluded to in your career and the homework that I've done, you've moved around quite a bit. Now, mind you, people are going to probably, when they graduate, not be in that same city to start off if they want to do sports journalism. You're going to have to take off and go somewhere else.
Right?
I did that. Most people are going to do that. But you got to know where you're living. You got to know the price of where you're living. You can't be eating top ramen every day like you did in college. We can't live like that. So,
Yeah, we gotta get some vegetables in there.
right, eat some nutrients. You know what I mean? You got to do that. Now, the last thing I always say is if they want you to start soon, and what I mean by soon, before you give like a 2 week notice or a proper 2 week notice to any kind of job or anything, I think that's a red flag too. Because most places shouldn't want you to start that soon, less than a week. Most places are going to give you about a month. One, you got to find a place to live out there. You got to get settled in. You got to drive there or do whatever you need to do to get there. So I try to tell my students that, um, and hopefully they listen. Hopefully they do. But I definitely, from my experience, that's the three things that I try to share for sure.
Yeah, I think you're giving them good advice. So I hope they do listen.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. We have came to the portion of the podcast now, Allison, that we are going to do this or that. It's
Oh,
an
okay.
interactive game that I like to do with my guests here on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. So basically, what I do is I throw two things at you, and you get to choose this or that. So, Allison, are you
Okay.
ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Do you like chicken?
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. Which chicken place would you rather go eat at?
Oh.
Popeyes or KFC?
And I only get those choices. I don't get to throw
Only
out a first choice.
because I know the obvious choice for where you at. I get that, but
I
Popeyes or
guess
KFC?
I'm gonna go KFC. I'm
Okay.
gonna go original mashed potatoes of my youth. Yes.
Now, see, here we go. So let me tell you before I get to the next one. Most people, when they say they want to throw out a different option, they'll say either Bojangles or Chick-fil-A. That's what
I
they'll
would
say.
have said Bojangles with my heart
I
completely
feel,
on it. Bojangles, that is my first stop when I come home to see my parents. I normally don't even make it to my parents' house before I'm rolling through the drive-through of Bojangles.
I don't know about you, but that blueberry,
Blueberry biscuits, baby.
yeah,
Those are
that
those
bowl
are
biscuit.
elite.
No question, no question about it. Okay, when it comes to chicken wings, which flavor are you putting on the chicken? Lemon pepper or barbecue?
Mm, that's hard. Oh man, these are hard, Chris. I want to go barbecue.
Okay, do you like your wings wet or dry?
Probably more wet. I like some sauce.
Yeah, so do I. I'm with you on that. Now, do you
But
like
like
your
these
wings?
are all like I would eat them either way. So like these are all great because like lemon pepper, give it to me. Like dry
Absolutely.
wings, give it to me. But yeah,
I'm with
wet
it.
wet would be the preference.
Okay, now here we go. Do you like your wings bone in or boneless?
Oh, bone in. Come on. Original.
So you like to get a little messy when you eat the wings.
Yeah, smoked wings.
I'm with you on that, girl. We
Smoked
gonna
and
be
then
fire.
flash
We gonna
fried
be
and put
fire
in.
together, girl. I'm trying to tell you that right now, because I love me some lemon pepper wet wings, and whew, I love me some. But to be honest with you, you can even put in some buffalo sauce on that thing too.
Oh
Some
yeah,
buffalo.
those are buffalo's really good.
Okay, I got you. That's my third one. I like that. Okay, here we go. Now I'm gonna ask you music concerts that you rather attend. The next four questions. Okay, so
Okay,
here we
I'm
go.
nervous now. Now we're getting to the territory where I'm getting nervous. Okay, I'm ready.
Absolutely. Here we go. Which music concert would you rather go to? Would you rather go see Morgan Wallen or Luke Combs?
Luke Combs.
I'm a Luke
Easy.
Combs fan too. Luke Combs. Here we go. Which music concert would you rather go to? Would you rather see Kendrick Lamar or Drake?
Oh God. I don't really listen to Kendrick Lamar, so like I feel
Oh
like that's kind of
hell no. No, you did not just say that.
I
Oh,
know, I know, I know. Chris, I don't listen to like any current rap. Like I only listen to like straight up 90s rap. That's what I'm saying. Like
okay. Look, look,
so I
look.
mean, can you I based on your answer, I'm gonna go with Kendrick Lamar with you and I'm just gonna like have a great time because I'm not trying to make my new friend upset.
Okay, look here. I don't know about your hubby. I'm sure he's a great man. I don't know if he listens to Kendrick Lamar. If he doesn't, then I'll introduce you to him. I'll send you a playlist of songs, and then you
Great.
can do it. Okay,
Sounds
here we
good.
go. Okay, here we go. So, do you listen to R&B?
Yeah, but like now I'm nervous. Like now these
Okay, here we
questions
go.
are making me
Here- I feel it. I feel it. They should a little bit. Here we go. Which one would you rather see in concert, Rihanna or Beyonce?
I'm gonna be really truthfully honest, Rihanna.
Okay. Listen, I don't want you telling lies on the show now. Don't be telling
No,
lies
I
on this
mean
episode.
Rihanna was the soundtrack of my like college years. So like, you know that there's like a study that says that you like your brain morphs and the amount of nostalgia you feel is related to the time when you're about like 16 to 22. So for
Sure.
me, that was more Rihanna, unfortunately, than Beyonce. Beyonce went out solo like after I'd already left the college years.
I
She
feel
was
that.
still,
Okay.
Beyonce to me is still Destiny's Child, if we're being honest. Like I'm
I
old
feel
school
you on that.
Beyonce.
I do. I feel you on that. Yes, I'm a baby boy Beyonce. That's me. When she did the song with Sean Paul, Baby Boy.
Oh
That's
yeah, 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 yeah.
okay, here we go. Last one of the music. Which
Okay.
artist would you rather see in person? Chris Brown or Usher?
Usher, hands down.
Okay, okay. You
ATL
definitely
for the win.
absolutely no question. Now,
Even
I'm
though even though Chris Brown is technically from Virginia and so am I, but no, I'm going Usher. Again,
I was just about to
soundtrack
say
of my
that.
childhood, we're going Usher.
Usher. Okay, Usher baby. Okay, I like you. I like that. Here we go. Which WNBA player would you rather, if you had to pick one, which one would you rather pick? Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird.
Sue Bird.
Okay. Which WNBA player would you rather pick? Would you rather pick Cameron Brink or would you rather pick Angel Reese?
That's a harder one because they're both amazing, but I'm going Angel. I'm going
Okay.
Angel. I would
Okay.
much rather have Angel on my team. Not that
I
I don't
feel you
love
on
Kate
that.
Brink. I think she's incredible. But I'm gonna need the rebounding queen of the WNBA on my team. So I'm gonna
Absolutely.
brick a lot of shots, Chris. So I'm gonna need somebody to get those down.
Well, Angel definitely gonna do that. There's no question about that. She gonna get down. Here we go. Which WNBA player would you rather choose, Caitlin Clark or Sabrina Ionescu?
Oh God, that is probably the hardest question you're gonna ask me. I love them both. That's so hard.
I love them both too. But which one is 51% and which one is 49%?
I'm picking Caitlin.
I love it. I
I
love it.
think
Okay.
Caitlyn's gonna do some things in the next couple of years. But I love Sabrina,
No,
so I will say that it was
no
really hard.
question. No question. And plus, with their new coach, which I'm very fond of, Stephanie White, coming over
Yeah,
from the
leaving the
Connecticut
sun,
Sun.
going to the fever. Yep.
Yes, and she actually coached at Vanderbilt too. I followed her from there, from Vanderbilt University, where she used to coach at. So, absolutely, no
And
doubt.
she's on the mic. She's a media member. She's calling games. She's got a very cool story and cool career that she's both coach and, on the mic for a lot of games. That's pretty unique.
Absolutely. Last one of the WNBA. Which player would you rather choose? Would you rather choose Camila Cardoza or would you rather choose DeWanna Bonner?
DeWanna Bonner all day. All day. She's in the top 10 on all-time scoring list for a reason. I'm taking DeWanna. She's got something in that DNA that even though she's probably one of the thinnest players I've ever seen, she just bows up and goes and makes shots. I'm taking her every
Absolutely.
time.
All right. I love that. I love that. Now, which sport, Allison, would you rather play? Would you rather play badminton or bowling?
Bowling, because it's closer to pitching.
You're a good bowler.
I throw it really hard, Chris. I have no idea whether or not it's going straight, but I'm chucking it down the lane.
Do you need the bumpers?
No, but it's either
Okay.
it's either going straight down the middle, full strike, or it's going straight in the gutter at about 50 miles an hour. Well,
All
there is
right.
no in between.
That's all right. You said the magic word. You don't need no bumpers. You good. Hey, I can throw out. No, here, I should ask this next question. Air hockey or darts?
Mm. Ooh, that's tough.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm gonna go darts. I'm gonna go darts. But I will say air hockey holds a special place in my life because I think as kids we all went to arcades where we were playing air hockey.
Yes, we did. No
So
question.
I'm gonna go
Now,
darts though. I think darts is better for my game as a pitcher. Again, I'm trying to win, so I'm saying what is the better one for
I'm
me?
gonna tell you, Allison, I'm a beast when it comes to darts. Now, I don't let up. Now, I'm just letting you
Okay.
know. Okay, I'm just letting you know that I'm pretty good. Now, bowling, you might get me. Darts, yeah, I don't know about that one, but that's okay. We'll have to see. We'll have to see about that for sure. Okay, desserts. Do you like desserts?
Weirdly, no, I'm not a dessert person.
Not a dessert per. Okay, what about potato chips?
Oh yeah, I'm salty over sweet all day. Easy.
Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna name four
Okay.
brands of chips, and you got to choose one of these that you'll never eat again.
Okay, perfect.
All right, here we go. First brand is Lay's. The
Okay.
second brand, huh?
Original Lay's.
No, no, all Lay's,
Oh,
all
okay.
flavors of Lay's.
All Lay's products are on the table. Okay.
Yep, even baked Lay's, all up. So here we
Okay.
go. Ruffles is the second one.
Okay.
Third one is Doritos.
Okay.
The last one is Pringles. Which one you getting rid of that you'll never eat again?
Okay, I'm getting rid of Ruffles because I think they're
Oh,
essentially
what
the
the?
same.
I know
They're
that.
essentially the same.
Oh Lord, you
I
get rid
gotta
of.
keep Doritos and Pringles. Those are my kryptonite.
Are you a salt and vinegar person?
Oh yeah, that's why I want the Lay's. I want the
That's
original. I
very
want the
funny.
Lay's salt and vinegar. That's why I gotta get rid of the Ruffles.
That explains a hell of a lot, Allison. It really does.
I
It
feel
explains a
very
hell of a
judged
lot.
right now.
I can't even hide my judgmental self right now. I can't even hide it.
You were not happy with those answers. That was almost as bad as me saying that I didn't know who Kendrick Lamar was. No, well, I know
Yeah,
who he is, but I don't listen to
that this is worse because this has to do with food. Now, Kendrick Lamar is an acquired taste, but food,
Okay,
Ruffles, sour cream and cheddar chips are the best chips ever
they're
in the
very
world.
good, but counterpoint, salt and vinegar chips on a sandwich. For me, that's a game changer.
If I could knock all the salt and vinegar chips off the shelf and step on them and not get penalized, I probably would. But listen, they're not the worst chip ever. The worst chip ever is Funyuns.
Ooh, I would think I would agree with you. The Funyuns are not for me.
No, but what also has made me, inside smile again is that you said that you are willing to put chips on a sandwich. I am so happy I met somebody freaking else that will put chips on a sandwich,
You need
not eat
texture.
them on the side.
You need
So
texture.
yes, I do it all the time. My sour cream and onion Lay's or whatever brand it is or Pringles. Like I normally eat turkey, steak, or chicken whenever I eat sandwiches, and I'll slap them in there and I'll crunch them up and I'll go to work on the sandwich.
Right.
So
That's right.
that's what I like to do. Okay, cool. You did pretty good on this or that, except with the chips, but that's okay. I forgive you. That's all right. But you did pretty good. I like asking this next question all the time. If it wasn't you being an associate professor, what
Mm.
career path would you have chosen to do and why?
I mean, luckily I'm kind of getting to do a little bit of it, but I wanted to be in communications and like reporting or writing or running a communications department. So I kind of get to do it a little bit now, like part-time. But yeah, I think I would have done something with my first degree. I came out of school wanting to do writing and sideline reporting and kind of get to like be, on the field and or write about games. And so that's probably what I would be doing if I wasn't being a professor.
I love that. I can totally see you doing that, which is a great segue to this next question because I want to know what is a bucket list of stories as far as sports stories that you would like to write about? Give me a
Um,
top four.
WNBA championship.
Okay. I don't
That's
know if it's
easy.
going to happen there in Atlanta now. You may have to fly somewhere else now.
Yeah, I don't think Atlanta's going to be the team this year. If we can make bold predictions already, I think they have some pieces, but they need one more person to take them over the top. So
Yeah.
definitely, I'd love to cover like a five series of the WNBA. I'd love to go do the same for the NWSL. I'm also a big NWSL fan. I want to go to the Women's College World Series and write about softball because I never got to go as a player, obviously, and I've never gotten to go as a fan. So I think it'd be really cool to finally go to the World Series and see it. And I'd love to do either like the Boston or New York City Marathon, just because I ran the New York City Marathon a couple years ago, and I just think like the marathon is
Mm.
so cool. And so being able to cover like one of the premier races and like getting to talk about the runners, especially like a feature story about like the things they've overcome to be in those positions where they're running those mega races and what they go through to train. I think people don't know enough about how difficult marathon running is. I mean, obviously people are like, "Oh, running a marathon is hard," but the amount of work that goes into it, I think that would be a cool story.
It's funny you say that, Allison, because out here, I met someone who ran in the Boston Marathon, and she lived here in Marshall, Minnesota, which was where I live now. And I wrote a feature story on her. It was about 2,800 words of a feature story in her time, and it was crazy because her story was very different. She almost missed the Boston Marathon because the bus ended up going in the opposite direction. They take buses to the start line. Yeah, it was crazy. What she was telling me. All the buses went one direction. The bus decided to veer off and go into the other one. And it was the bus that she was on. She
Oh,
had to sprint to the starting line because if you miss your time, you miss the opportunity to go.
yep, yep,
Everybody has the time to do it. It was a
yeah.
crazy story. I was so blessed to be able to write that and talk to her and find out that she had to qualify for the Boston Marathon. She had to do a marathon here called the Grandmas, which is a marathon that we have here in Duluth, Minnesota. So you have to qualify first, get into a running, and then get selected to do the Boston Marathon, and she was able to do that. So it's funny. That's amazing. I totally would say definitely do a story like that if you can. And I salute you for doing the New York Marathon because my ass would never be out there running a marathon. I'm gonna tell you
I
that
don't
right
know
now.
that I'll run another one. I think that might have been my one and done moment. I like a half. A half marathon is challenging, but then you can still like walk after and like, you can do activities. You run a
Yeah,
marathon, you're down for like, at least I was down for a little bit. It takes
yeah.
a lot out on your body.
And no question, 5K take a lot out of my body. I need a ball in my hand. I need a ball in my hand or something to be able to run. But just running with the wind out in the elements, I don't know if I can do that. But I love that. I love what you said because you also said WNBA championship. That would be amazing. You also said NWSL, which I love soccer as well. I can't play worth for you know what, but I love going out there and watching it for sure. And I think you also said soccer, you said WNBA, you said marathon, and what was your other one?
The Women's College World Series, so
That's
softball.
right,
Softball.
and
Yeah.
that's right. So if I'm not mistaken, doesn't that take place in Omaha?
Takes place, baseball's in Omaha and softball's in Oklahoma City. So, right in the heart. And so last several years, Oklahoma has won.
Mhm.
So I don't know, maybe I can go and write about somebody else. Maybe somebody upsets the dynasty.
Well, I would love to see that. I have been to Omaha once because Kennesaw State actually got there one time,
Oh,
the
wow.
one time a few years ago. But I definitely want to go to Oklahoma City and watch the women's too. I'm a huge fan of softball players. It's been it's a bonus question I want to ask you. There's been some talk that the fence needs to move back a little bit in softball as far as the home run fence and stuff like that. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like the fence needs to move back or should it just stay put to where it is?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think like I can see both sides. I can see from the pitching side, like, yeah, of course I want to move back. I don't want to be giving up home runs. But I also think like the home runs is part of the game. It's really exciting and it makes it really fun to watch. So I'm a fan of leaving it where it is. I think if back technology continues, like maybe we need to think about moving it back in the next couple of years. But right now, I'm loving seeing the home runs because I think just as many times as you see home runs, you see a pitcher dominate and have 10, 15 strikeouts a game. So there's there's always going to be some yin with yang going on there.
Absolutely. Advice. We talked about advice you would give, but what is some advice that someone has gave you that you hold on dearly to?
Oh man. Hold on, I have one on my phone. If I can.
Oh, sure. Come on now. I'm with it.
I was like, let me make sure I say it correctly because my husband's grandfather said this to us, and
Okay.
it's one of my favorite quotes of all time.
Okay.
If I can
Awesome.
find it.
I love it. I love it.
Here it
Okay.
is. He said, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit. And it just was the funniest thing that's ever been said. He's a fantastic person who has a really unique life where he used to
Right.
work for National Geographic. And when he was telling us that, he was just kind of like, shoot your shot. Like, why shouldn't you just go after what you want to go after? So yeah, that one's like it's one of the quotes in my phone that makes me laugh and giggle, especially when I need a smile. But like I also think there's a little bit of truth to it. Like just, shoot your shot because I think a lot of times, especially people wanting to work into sport, think we have to have every little box checked. And it's like, no, just go in there and like if you're a good communicator, if you're a good relationship builder, if you work hard and you can learn quickly, like you'll be fine. You don't have to be able to be brilliant right out the gate. You've got time to create and to learn that brilliance.
Absolutely. I like that. I love that. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Sorry, I hope we
Shout
can
out to
cuss
the
on your podcast.
grandpa.
I just did.
Shout- No, you're good. You're good. No question. No question about it. We're all good. Shout out to the grandfather for sure. I love that. We're getting to the close to the end of the podcast. So now, Allison, what I want to do is I want to do some rapid fire. So the first thing that comes up to your mind based upon these questions, you just blurt out. So here we go.
Okay. Okay.
Burgers or tacos?
Tacos.
Okay. Chicken or ribs?
Chicken.
Waffles or pancakes?
Waffles.
Favorite color?
Turquoise.
Ooh, okay. I like that. Favorite TV show?
New girl.
That's different. Okay, that's different. Favorite alcoholic drink?
Mm. Glass of red wine. Honestly, I haven't met a glass of wine I don't love, so just wine.
I'm about to say because Cabernet, Margaux, white wine,
Tempranillo, Malbec, Sangiovese.
Moscato.
I
I
love it all. I
mean,
love it all. I love all
yeah.
wine.
Okay, so that's another thing we got in common. I like all wine too. Okay, favorite board game.
Monopoly. I'm old school.
You know, I'm a beast when I get Park Place and Boardwalk. I'm just letting you know. Here we
Either that
go.
or Battleship, the old school Battleship with the pegs.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's what's up. Okay, favorite card game.
Card game?
Hmm.
Spades.
You know how to play some spades.
Yeah, I've played sports. Of course I know how to play spades.
We damn sure definitely seeing about that when I get to the ATL. When I get back, there's no question about. Okay, hold on, I'm testing you. Do you play Ace High or Joke Deuce Deuce?
Ace high.
I'm with it. Okay, say less. All right, we'll see about that. Here we go. uh, Dominoes or Dominoes or Phase 10.
Phase in because that's a family favorite.
I
That's a
got you.
every Christmas my family and I have a tradition we play board games on Christmas Eve and Christmas night. And Phase 10 always makes around as well as Uno. And Uno I am aggressive about. That is my game.
And you know what? If something tells me you the person that be slapping the draw fours on people a lot.
Oh yeah, I'm like mean about it. I'm like over there like giving my mom draw fours. There's no mercy.
Okay, see, Uno, people don't know. Uno be turning loud. Uno gets
Yeah,
loud.
Uno gets loud, especially when you catch somebody forgetting to say Uno, and you're like,
Yeah,
ooh.
straight up, no question. I know that. We that's what's up. I love that. If you had three people that you could take with you on a vacation, so three plus you equal four, where would you go, and who would you take?
Oh, dead or alive? Or just
Yeah, they
alive?
could be family or they could be celebrities. They could be crushes of celebrities if you want to. They could be anybody.
I'm gonna take my mom and my husband for sure, because they're
Okay.
already my travel buddies. My third, I would bring my grandmother back so that I could see her and spend time with her. She basically helped raise me when I was young, so I really, really dearly miss her. Um, where would I go though? That's such a hard one. There's so many places I want to go. Um, I would go to South Africa. The
Okay.
wine's great. I really am obsessed with great white sharks and I really want to watch them jump out of the water. And you can do that best in South Africa. As well as I think it'd be cool to go see safari and go see a lot of animals that I hope are still on this planet in the next several decades. But history has taught us we haven't always been so kind to wildlife. So I want to go see some things that I think are just incredible. Incredible in showing you that how small of a human you are and how big of a world this is.
I like that perspective. But you can have every bit of the great white sharks. You can have it. There's no question
I
about
didn't
it.
say I'm getting in the water with them. I'm just saying I'm sitting on the boat and I'm watching it because I think they're just fascinating, fierce creatures.
They are absolutely fascinating from the confines of my television. I have no problem in looking at that at all. You are absolutely right. If you had a choice, Allison, to listen to three songs or three artists on repeat that you would never get tired of, who would those three songs or three artists be?
Oh God, I knew you were gonna ask me something hard with music. Um,
You
I'm
can
not
choose
gonna
either
pick
three
songs.
artists or three songs.
I don't think three songs is enough, so I'm gonna pick artists.
Talk to me.
I'm gonna go John Mayer because I love him. I love all of his music.
Yep.
I'm gonna go Fleetwood Mac because
Ooh,
that's like a classic for me. Oh, man, hurry. And then now we've got to make the hard choice. Those were easy. Those are my top two every year. Spotify Wrapped is like, you're obsessed with John Mayer and Fleetwood Mac. I'm like, yeah, I know. All right, third. Oh, so hard. This is such a hard choice. Like, do I go
it is.
classic? Um, I think I'm gonna go classic. I'm gonna go Miles Davis jazz.
Look at you. Okay, now. Okay, what you know about some
I'm gonna go.
Miles
I'm gonna,
Davis?
jazz music is happy and it's like good little listening for hanging out. If I have to listen to three things on repeat, those are what I'm going with.
That's a hell of a list. I love that. I do. If they came up to you and said, Dr. Allison, we want you to only do one of these for the rest of your career.
Okay.
That is, be in a classroom and teach wonderful kids, or take a sports reporting job where you can cover stories throughout sports. Which one are you doing?
If it's women's sports, I'm taking the sport reporting job because I think that's like my I love teaching and I find a lot of value in it, but I think there's a huge part of me that feels called to move more into sport reporting, especially for women's sports in 2025. So stay tuned, maybe that'll happen.
Listen, I'm definitely pulling for you for sure. I would hate to see you leave the classroom, but I would love to see you on the sidelines or somewhere in a media, because I'll be there too. I'm hoping for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever not teach. I think maybe it just would be teaching like one or two classes or teaching less or adjuncting just so that I
Like
could
an
be more.
adjunct.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I got you. Yeah, I would love to do the same as well. That'd be pretty dope. That'd be pretty dope. Allison, this has been a really, really wonderful conversation. Obviously, learned about your history of moving to several different places as an associate professor in universities, but also learned about your why you wanted to do what you wanted to do. Same graduate as far as undergraduate degree in journalism, what you do with awful announcing, the advice you gave or you give to your students. It's no question to why you are very passionate what you do, very good at what you do, and definitely somebody who people should listen to and pay attention to because you obviously have the heart for this. And
Thanks, Chris. Back at you.
uh, thank you so much. As I always say to my guests, and the final question is there anything else you would like to add before we conclude?
Oh man, no, I don't think so. I think we've like hit all the highlights, especially for me. I mean, thank you for this opportunity. Like you said, I don't think there's many of us that get to tell our story a lot. It's a lot of us telling other people's stories, which I think is an important and fantastic job. So it's weird to be on the other side and be the subject, but I appreciate you giving me the time to tell my story and to play some fun games and talk about food, which I also love. So yeah, thank you.
No, thank you, Allison, for allocating your time to me. I really do appreciate it once again. You enjoy the rest of your Monday evening and the rest of your week. And if I don't get to say it to you future wise, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you and your entire family. You and I would definitely stay in touch because we got to get a spades game going. That's for sure.
Sounds good. I'll take the challenge. And yeah, happy holidays to you as well. Have a good New Year's. And yeah, let's go kick ass in 2025.
I love it. Take care now.
All right. Thank you. Bye.